Let's talk about something huge. What if you could prove that your maintenance team isn't just a cost center, but a powerful engine for profit? That's exactly what we're going to dig into today, how the right measurements can completely change the game for your entire operation.
You've probably heard this one a million times. And you know what? It's a classic for a reason. This simple idea is the absolute bedrock of managing performance. Because without data, let's be honest, every decision you make is pretty much just a shot in the dark. Okay, but here's the kicker. The question that so many organizations get wrong. It's not nearly enough to just measure stuff. You have to be measuring the right stuff, the specific things that directly push your biggest business goals forward.
And that is the real power of measuring things the right way. It creates this incredible line of sight, connecting the day-to-day tasks of a technician on the floor all the way up to the highest level goals being set in the boardroom. It's a total game changer.
All right, so how do we actually build this? Well, it all starts with a really solid foundation. Let's break it down using a simple model I like to call the performance pyramid.
Okay, so at the very bottom, the base of our pyramid, you've got your metrics. Just think of these as the raw stats, the day-to-day numbers. Things like how many work orders you completed or total downtime hours. They're just telling you what is happening.
Now, as we move up the pyramid, we get to the really juicy part. Key performance indicators, or KPIs. And listen, this is a super important distinction. All KPIs are metrics, but, and this is a big but, not all metrics are KPIs. A KPI is special. It's a carefully chosen metric that's tied directly to a major business goal. It's one of the stats that really, truly matter. The best way I've ever heard this explained is with a travel analogy. Think of your KPI as your compass. It's always pointing you to your final destination, your strategic North Star. Your metrics, then, are the turn-by-turn directions you follow to get there. You absolutely need both, for sure, but they do very different jobs. So, we've got all this data. Now what? How do we actually use it? Well, it all flows through something called the data-to-action cycle. You start with raw data, you organize it into useful information, you analyze that to find an insight, and then, this is the most important part, you take action. Because let's be real, data that just sits there without leading to a decision, it's totally useless. It's just noise. And this table just lays it out perfectly. Just look at the pump example. You get some raw temp and flow readings. That's just data, right? But when you notice the temp goes up when the flow goes down, now that's information. The insight is figuring out, hey, this is causing cavitation. And the action? You go adjust the flow controls. It's a beautiful, simple cycle that turns numbers into actual value. All right, so now we get how to turn data into action. But let's add another layer to our strategy, and this one is critical. To build a really robust scorecard, you need to be looking in two directions at once. It's kind of like driving a car. You need your rearview mirror, but you also need your GPS. Lagging indicators? Those are your rearview mirror. They measure what's already happened, like last month's downtime. They're essential for knowing your score, but they're purely reactive. Leading indicators, on the other hand, they're your GPS. They are predictive. They help you influence the future. They're all about being proactive. Oh, I absolutely love this analogy because it just makes the whole concept click instantly. Think about trying to lose, say, 30 pounds. That goal, the 30 pounds, that's your lagging indicator. It's the final result you measure at the end. But the things you do every day to get there, counting calories, getting your steps in, those are your leading indicators. They predict if you're actually going to succeed. And what's so cool here is you can see how these two sides of the coin work together to create a balanced scorecard. You absolutely need those lagging indicators, like asset downtime or MTBF, which stands for mean time between failures. You need those to know if you've won. But to actually cause the win, you have to manage your leading indicators, like PM compliance. All right, we've got all the pieces of the puzzle on the table. We know about metrics, KPIs, leading, lagging. Now for the practical part. How do we actually put this all together and design a framework that really works? Okay, rule number one. And if you forget everything else, remember this. You have to start at the top. Every single KPI you decide to track must connect back to a high-level business goal. If you can't draw a straight line from the KPI to a business objective, just drop it. It's noise. So once you think you have a good KPI, you need to run it through a filter. The classic, and for good reason, is the SMART criteria. A great KPI is never vague. It has to be specific. It's not just a gut feeling. It's got to be measurable. This simple framework forces you to choose metrics that are actually meaningful and, most importantly, actionable.
One of the biggest traps is focusing too much on one thing and developing these huge blind spots. To avoid that, you need a balanced, kind of 360-degree view. And a fantastic way to get that is to organize your KPIs across 4 key areas of maintenance performance. And here they are: business process, asset health, reliability programs, and work execution. See, by just picking one really critical pulse KPI from each of these buckets, you get that complete picture. It makes sure you're not just staring at asset health while your entire work execution process is falling apart.
Let's take this proactive versus reactive ratio. I mean, look at this. A world-class team is aiming for something like an 80-20 split. This one number is such a powerful leading indicator. It tells you if you're controlling your own destiny or if you're just a victim of it.
Or how about this one, the total backlog? This donut chart tells a whole story in a single glance. A healthy, well-managed backlog has just a tiny little slice of that high-priority, everything's on fire work. It's a visual sign that the team is on top of things, not just putting out fires. Okay, so we've talked about the pyramids, the indicators, the frameworks, and all of this is leading us to the final, and honestly, the most important piece of the puzzle. This was never just about tracking numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about using those numbers to build a whole new culture. At the end of the day, the numbers on the dashboard, they aren't the goal. They're just the tool. The real prize here is building a proactive, data-driven culture. A culture where every single person on the team sees a metric not as a test they have to pass, but as a genuine opportunity to learn, to get better, and to win. So I'll just leave you with this one question to chew on. Take a hard look at your own organization. Is your data actually creating a culture of improvement? Is it sparking conversations? Or is it just gathering digital dust in some report that nobody reads? Because honestly, the answer to that question changes everything.